focus on getting this election won away from Daniel Andrews, folks. Never mind protests, never mind getting involved in a whole lot of other stuff. Put your boots on the ground. Instead of going to a rally, go to the polling booths, offer your help to these freedom parties. If we get Dr. Chris Neal in there for Northern Victoria, that is one of the clinches that could really make some changes in Victoria. We've got to get these doctors with integrity into places where they can make some changes and bring about some really good policy and call this stuff for what it is. So
absolutely,
we're pleading with you. Well, g'day. Look at us three, will you? It's 22nd of November, Club Grubbery, and I have remodeled the caravan so it looks like the set of Club Grubbery at home. Done an excellent job. In fact, it is Club Grubbery at home set. It's that high technology stuff that we do, John. Your iPhone 7 is clipped to a bulldog clip on a stool beside your bed.
That's it.
My iPad is stacked on a couple of books, and if only we had the expertise of our special guest tonight, Jammal.
I've got the best of audio. Look at this.
Look at that.
High-tech stuff. Yeah.
And it's amazing how you can get your computer to make you look like you're sitting in a car, Joel. It's so good.
I know, right? It's almost real.
Yeah, you'll have to share that technology with us. And I also want to thank you, Joel, for posting so much content on my pages and sharing the stuff that you're doing in Victoria. It's been very good. Someone has suggested that you're now Graham Hood, but I said I couldn't care less because we should all have it on our hearts to see a change of government in Victoria. And to that end, you can be on the page every single minute of every day. I don't care.
Look, sorry for the spam, everyone. I promise you I'll be out of your hair after the 26th of November. But yeah, no, look, I want to thank you, Graham, for helping us get around the censorship and push through it.
Yeah, no worries at all. Thank you for everything you do too, Jolly. And I'm just admiring John's T-shirt. You need to straighten it out a bit. That's it, John. That's it.
Love it.
Well, he's not real straight, is he?
No.
Crooked.
That would be a sight to behold. That would actually be a sight to behold. But let's not get too mean-spirited about what we're going to do. Jolie, John and I have been watching the debate between Matthew Guy and Daniel Andrews in Box Hill Town Hall. So much we could say, but so much we can't because it was that bland.
Yeah, tell me. I mean, I only watched the first 20 minutes. I was actually thinking of streaming it for the audience so they could see because it was obviously behind a paywall. But I think they're uploading it to YouTube. But I mean, what did you guys think with it? What was the biggest sort of thing you guys saw from it?
Well, I don't know about you, John, but I mean, Daniel Andrews was obviously the best health minister Victoria ever had because Victorian ambulance waiting times and AAA responses were never better than in Victoria just before COVID. And he's also the friend of every healthcare professional that there is in Victoria. He's every nurse's friend. He's every paramedic's friend. John, what did you think of what he had to say?
Yeah, well, look, it was a bit like attending the Helston Park bingo night, wasn't it? It was right up there with that, I reckon. Very, very disappointing, Hoodie, I've got to say. I couldn't believe the garbage that was coming out of this Andrews' mouth. He's wanting to forget about COVID. He's wanting to forget about lockdown. It was incredible, absolutely incredible to think that not one of those patsies in the audience asked a question around anything to do with the last 2 years.
Exactly. It was incredible. I wondered about the audience because it almost felt to me like they'd been in limbo for the last 2 years. There was nothing said about the state's abysmal COVID response record, the most lockdown city in the world.
Yeah.
And Andrews came back to respond to a couple of hints along those lines that he saved tens of thousands of Victorians. I mean, based on what, Daniel? What?
Yeah. Yeah, 265 days in lockdown. I'll tell you what, there was a favourite question that I saw. It was around about the 20-minute mark. This guy, to his credit, he asked, how can we revive the Melbourne CBD? That actually happened to be one of the questions on our policy matrix for Turning Point. And Daniel Andrews proceeded to spend the next 60 seconds explaining to him that it's vibrant in the city. You know, people are returning to work. It's bustling. It's beautiful.
Can't
Guys,
get
what was that?
Billy
you-
Joel. Billy Joel sold out in minutes.
Yeah. It just, you got to be joking. And I said, well, that's what Daniel Andrews was saying. He was saying that it's beautiful and Billy Joel went well, it pans to the questioner, and the questioner's not having it. He's just like giving him the staunch face, and the questioner signals for Kieran, who is the actual the moderator for the night, to basically challenge Daniel Andrews on it. And I just thought, how daft is this guy? Like, you know, if I was him, I would have answered it and said, you know what? No, it's not. We're not all the way there yet. That's why we need more support for small business in the city. It's like some crap like that. But he proceeds to gaslight the Victorians and say everything's fine. Astonishing. You can't make this crap up, as John would say.
Well, look, I've got to say this. Hoodie and I drove into Melbourne there a few weeks back. Now, this bloke that reckons he's God's gift to healthcare. Daniel, you can't even get the lawns mowed, mate. I mean, it was 6 foot high. The lawns as you come into Melbourne, it looked like something out of a swamp. Hoodie and I felt like we were going into another world, something out of Jurassic Park or something. I don't know what's going on.
Look, yeah, it was, and Melbourne City, the CBD. We were there rallying John during the mission to Melbourne, and we just went to be with the people and walking with the people and seeing the way that the city has degenerated into this black hole of anxiety and I don't know. There were people hanging over pub veranda railings up on the second floor, and they were like, it was like they were in another world. It was just incredible. I spent a lot of great years in Melbourne. I loved Melbourne, and I was there when it was repeatedly the world's most livable city. And John, as you know, we got out of there after 4 days in Melbourne, and I just wanted to get it that far behind me. I just kept driving. I'll drop you off with Caitlin at Goulburn, and I kept driving. I drove 20 hours to get as far away from Melbourne as I could. I hate to say that because there's so many people I love in Melbourne. It's just
It's bad.
it's a tragedy.
It is. Graham, I've done so for the Victorian election. I think from about 4 months before the election, I've made about 5 or 6 trips to Victoria. I can't do work there. Like, I actually can't physically get any work done there. Now, maybe that's because I'm a weak individual. I don't know. But the moment I get back into New South Wales, into Sydney, and I step off the plane, I feel a sense of encouragement, and I feel emboldened. I feel driven. The moment I get to Victoria, the first thing I say is usually a swear word because I don't want to be there. And I consider myself a very hard worker. You know, most mornings I'm up at 5 a.m. and I'm training. I'm, you know, doing all sorts of things. When I'm there, there is something about that state, that city. It kills my work ethic. I have no idea what it is. And until you move out of that state to a state like Sydney or a state like New South Wales or Queensland, you don't realize that. And so I'm encouraging Victorians to take a bit of a holiday this summer to a different state. And I think you might not end up going back to Victoria.
But was it always that way for you, Joel? I mean, or is this only a result of the last 2 years?
Look, I've been there. I used to date a girl from Victoria in 2018, 2019. I enjoyed not so much the Melbourne, the city. It was always pretty bad, but the west of Victoria, the rural areas. So that was really nice. That was awesome. But even those areas, some of those areas, I think they experienced some form of lockdown or movement restriction across borders. And so, look, Melbourne, the city, I've never really liked it. Some people liked it. Apparently, the nightlife is supposed to be better, but I don't think it's that crash hot. I saw it 2 months ago. But I don't know. I mean, people like the Grand Prix, I guess. Billy, you know.
It was surprising that Michelle and I spoke with tens of thousands of Australians in Queensland. We've just finished the tour today. And a great many of those came up and explained that they were recent refugees from Victoria, that they'd sold up and gotten out of there to get up to Queensland. I mean, anyone who wants to leave Daniel Andrews to go to Anastasia Palaszczuk, well, you know, it's not such a big option, but even Anastasia Palaszczuk was better than spending another day in the state of Dan. Yeah, it's just amazing. But also, there were a couple of commentators, I don't know who they were, that were talking to the moderator prior to the program this afternoon, and they were each Labor and Liberal. And even when they were asked about what are the big issues facing Victoria, not once were the lockdowns mentioned. Not once was the unemployment rate around mandates mentioned. It's kind of like that whole stuff has just disappeared into the ether.
Yeah. See no evil. You know, there is no evil. Just look the other way. Nothing happened. Let's just ignore the last 2 years and grant amnesty if it comes up.
Yeah.
You know, just move on. You're crazy. You know, nothing happened. We did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
Now, Johnny, you wrote a couple of notes as a result of watching the debate. What have you written down there, mate?
Well, I did write down a couple of notes. First and foremost, I was very concerned when he was talking about having free Tinder because I thought he was saying free Tinder to start with. I couldn't get my head around that, but
got my vote.
It didn't surprise me. And now I'm a bit nervous too, Woody, because you know we are suspicious that we're under the watchful eye of ASIO. I'm just more concerned now that we're going to be under extreme scrutiny, given the fact that we appear to be in an underbelly scene here with Joel Jammal in a very dark motor vehicle. So anything could happen. Anything could happen, Hoodie. But let me get back to what I wrote. Now, I thought this was quote of the night, I've got to tell you. Daniel Andrews said, going to war with your workforce is not the answer. Well, I don't know what this buffoon thought he's been doing for the last 2 years, but if you haven't been at war with your workforce, then I don't know what sacking people out of the healthcare system is. What do you call that?
Where do you go with that?
Where do you go with that? I mean, that is just, it's Hitler stuff, isn't it?
There is six weeks out of the parliamentary cycle where Daniel Andrews actually smiles and looks benevolently at anyone who questions him. The rest of the time, he's a junkyard dog.
Yep.
He's a junkyard dog. I mean, Peter Credlin nailed it with that expose on Daniel Andrews, and she only just scratched the surface. But kudos to a great expose at a very good time. People need to wake up to this man. He makes Mussolini look like a kindergarten kid.
Well, and I think that's happening tonight too, guys, because if you think about it, you think of what Peter Credlin has done in the last 48 hours. You think about where Rowan Dean and that panel's taken us. You think about where Corey Bernardi and the numerous commentators at Sky have taken us. Now, why was Kieran Gilbert in that audience with those pedestrian questions? Why? Obviously, because Daniel Andrews would not have agreed to have gone before a Sky News camera fronting any of those others.
Good thought. Good thought, Jolly. You were mentioning that the stats have come through. How did the whole debate work out as far as the score one way or the other?
Yeah, let me know if this drops out, but I've got it right here. So it ended up being 38% Labor, 34% Liberal, and 28% undecided. And when it comes to those stats, it's absolutely insane.
That is a bit nuts.
Yeah, I'll be right back, guys. Keep going.
Yep. We've got some major issues going on there. Obviously the undecided vote's going to be a real catalyst for what's going to happen. But what is it also going to do, John, do you reckon, to the propensity there may be to cheat?
Yeah. Well, look, anything's possible. anything's possible in 2022, Hoodie, given what we've seen over the past 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean, they're telling lies the whole time, aren't they? I mean, this is the problem. I mean, where do you define cheating? I mean, Andrews is telling lies about Batty's magnificent record in trying to persuade these people to vote for him. It's just beyond belief that this guy could have put the Victorian public through what he did and he not be facing a Royal Commission and a criminal inquiry. But here we are about to re-elect him as a premier, and he's in front.
You know, there's another very smelly rat in the cheese factory in this, John. In that, I watched an interview today with Ian Cook, who is set to topple Daniel Andrews in his own seat if this goes well. He's very, very close to toppling him. He is only allowed to accept a donation, a campaign as for his campaign of up to $4,000 maximum. He's limited to $4,000 per donation, is Ian Cook. And yet you've got Daniel Andrews accepting $150,000 donations from the trade union movement. I mean, that beggars belief. I mean, the scales are so tipped far in favour of Daniel Andrews in virtually every aspect of this election, other than honesty and integrity. It just beggars belief.
Well, yeah. That's right. And he can, but he needs it. He needs it. I've been out there at Mulgrave. Dan Andrews has not been able to go out to the pre-polling once. You know, the people would heckle him, as was said in Peter Credlin's documentary. The people are very furious. There's a party down there called the Democratic Labour Party. They're not the same party as Dan Andrews' Labour Party. Even they're getting hate because it has the word Labour in it. Similar to how the Liberal Democrats have the word liberal in it, even though they're libertarians. People there's such a visceral reaction to it in Victoria, to Labor. Dan Andrews, he needs all of this these rule changes, these restrictions on spending, these restrictions. Like, I personally can't spend a certain amount in Victoria. Otherwise, even as Turning Point, we get restricted as well. We've got to do more reporting. And so it's favoured towards the unions in the electorate. But I tell you what, as I said, he needs it. If there's a man that can win that electorate, it's Ian Cook. That man is... Yep. There's a lot of good freedom people running that are supporting him, like from Family First or Aidan McClendon from the Freedom Party. Even the Liberal candidate down there is really a good guy. They're all preferencing each other, but I believe that the best person that can win that is Ian Cook. I reckon he could smash it. It's going to be biblical.
Now, it was very interesting when he responded to a question about Greens' preferences in his electorate. That was a fascinating exchange. He actually said that the Greens were prattling on about the same issues as he was, you know, about integrity in government and everything and how bad the Labor Party's been. But when he asked them who they were going to preference, they said they were going to preference Labor. I mean, this is the Greens all over.
Yeah.
This is the Greens all over. I mean, you've only got to look at people like Sarah Hanson-Young and some others involved in the Greens Party to see how inept they are in the whole scope of running this country. They are a cancerous growth, in my opinion, and that's just my opinion. But there's so many other things we need to canvass, Charlie. One thing is there's been a lot that I haven't caught up on a guy that you've been reporting on called the Preference Whisperer.
Yeah.
Can you give a summary? Because I've been on the road and doing a lot of speaking and I haven't caught up with it. Can you give us a bit of a synopsis on this guy?
All right. In order to understand what he does, I have to explain a concept to you guys. So in the federal election, do you remember how you vote for the lower house, you number all the ballot? No worries. This doesn't concern that. For the upper house, you had the choice to vote on that massive white ballot above the line or below the line. If you voted above the line, you could number as many boxes as you wanted. And if you voted below the line, you could number as many boxes as you wanted. Now, in Victoria, they don't have those rules. They have, if you vote above the line, you can only put one, and whoever you pick, they pick where the preferences flow to. So it's not in the power of the voter. It's completely corrupt, the way that things are done behind the scenes, these backroom deals. To make matters worse, in Victoria, you know, when in the federal election with the upper house, they have 6 senators up for grabs. If you vote in, up at Tweed Head, closer to where Hoodie is, your vote, if you voted for a certain Freedom Party, would get combined with my vote in Parramatta because we're in New South Wales. In Victoria, that's not the case. Just like with the lower house, how it's segmented into regions, in the upper house, they segment it into 8 regions. So they've got West Victoria, North Victoria, East Victoria, and they've got 5 other regions. So there's 8 regions in total. What this preference whisperer was doing was he was going around and carving up the state of Victoria and saying, okay, I've got 8 parties, for example. What we're going to do is in this electorate, like let's say the Sex Party, Fiona Paddon's Reason Party, we're all going to preference her as our number 2 on our group voting ticket over here. And yep, this party over here, we're going to all preference them as our number 2. And they do that for every single region. So what ends up happening, the end result is someone could get in on a micro amount of votes, hundreds of votes, just because all of the other parties have preferenced them above the line. So it's obviously a very complicated thing that he's done. He's found this loophole in this archaic system which doesn't exist anywhere else in Australia. And what he's done is he's done it in a way that's gotten people elected, like Rob Barton from the Transport Party, who gets hundreds of votes, not many at all. That guy was the one that was responsible for passing the permanent pandemic legislation. Around Australia, we have temporary pandemic legislation. But in Victoria, in November this time last year, they passed permanent pandemic legislation, and they were able to get it passed with the help of Fiona Paddon from the Sex Party, also known as the Reason Party, and this guy from the Transport Matters Party called sorry, I forgot his name. I just said it a second ago. And what was that?
Rob someone, was it?
The point is, these parties are positioned there by Glenjury, working in conjunction with the highest bidder, in this case being essentially Dan Andrews, to ensure that he has a working majority in the upper house to get the balance of power. Do you remember in the federal election, I was saying we need about 6 senators to get the balance of power. If we get the balance of power, then we can control legislation that goes from the lower house to the upper house. So we can put the brakes on the government. In Victoria, Glenjury, he has essentially gotten people elected which control that balance of power. See, if we don't seize the reins of control, the worst kinds of people, they seize the control and they control the government and they make it even worse. So what we came out with, Turning Point Australia, I came out with these resources myself, which are the antidote to Glenjury and his influence. We exposed where parties are preferencing above the line. We came out with these graphics for each of the regions. So if you voted for a certain Freedom Party or one of the major parties, you could see whether their preference was flowing to Freedom parties or the left-wing socialist parties. So that was one of the resources. But we also came out with our how to vote cards for the first time, where you can vote below the line, which allows you to get around the preferencing problems that you would do if you did up above the line. And what it's done is we've seen them absolutely popping off. I mean, in Ian Cook's area, they're popping off the most. But across Victoria, we're on track to beat our federal election downloads of 50,000. And the best thing I can say to everyone that's listening, if you want to make a difference, if you want to see Labor out, if you want to counter the dirty deals from Glenjury, the preference whisperer, our tools are the antidote to it. We've got 6 free projects, and it's yours to lose. This election is yours to lose. You have everything you need to win this election.
Who does this guy work for?
The highest bidder. He's a hired gun. He would work with the Liberals. If the Liberals said we're not going to change the group voting system, which gives him power, he would work with the Liberals. In fact, he works from the leaked interview which came out. He says he works with all parties around the country. He's no morals, this guy.
Well, how is this guy not up on electoral charges?
There's no law against it. There's no law. What happens is he gets hired by these parties, $5,000 up front, and then $50,000 if they get in, and he gets hired as if you would a member of the party, like as a staff member, and in some cases, he gets severance packages as well. I've heard, in my opinion, he might get severance packages so that he gets an even bigger cut. I mean, this is an absolute rort in Victoria. We don't have these problems in New South Wales, but this is why I've been killing myself to expose this. Among others in Victoria, like Aidan McClendon, he's been doing a phenomenal job for months.
Yep.
But God, Victorians, you've got to reject this. This is just disgusting.
And the other thing is, there was a bit of an expose on him doing what I would have thought was insider trading after getting inside results of the Bank Royal Commission, and then stalling off the announcement while he sold his bank shares. I mean, where does this guy get off?
Oh, I mean, how is it that this guy Cook can have $4,000 in donations, but some bloke can take 5 to 50 grand to orchestrate all this, and then on the back of this, how is that not insider trading?
Don't get me started, guys. As I said, Victoria is a demonic place. What has happened to that city? I wish there was someone like Jeff Kennett running that state. Victoria on the move. That's a man of integrity that could have brought this state back. Instead, you've got this wet lettuce of an opposition leader in Matthew Guy, who kicks out conservatives, especially Christians. He throws people like Moira Deeming under the bus, who's a Liberal Party member running for the upper house in the West Metro, and also the 60 Minutes expose on the church for the upper house candidate of East Victoria as well. Matthew Guy, he should be knocking it out of the park. But just like Scott Morrison, he's even further left than Scott Morrison. He wants like a 50% emissions reduction target. I mean, it's insane, absolutely insane.
Lock him up.
Yeah, look. To be honest with you, and we've said it a dozen times, John. As much as we're angry at the governments around Australia, we should be equally angry with the oppositions who've been lacklustre in the extreme. This truly is an indication of just how corrupt the Australian political system has become. It has to be sorted out. Now, Jolie, there's been an awful lot of I had a phone call today from Professor Dr. Chris Neal, who is the president of the Australian Medical Professional Society. He's running for the Freedom Victoria Party. Did I get that right? Freedom Victoria.
Yeah, the Freedom Party of Victoria, yeah.
Freedom Party of Victoria. And he's running for Northern Victoria. He's in with a pretty good show. If he gets 20,000 votes, he's in. But the thing that he's talking about, these are his figures. The things that he's really worried about is that there are no volunteers at the polling booths. Yep. He needs people giving out how to vote cards. Now, so we're appealing to anybody. The Hoodies Heroes groups are getting motivated to go out and support these freedom parties with how to vote cards. Focus on getting this election won away from Daniel Andrews, folks. Never mind protests, never mind getting involved in a whole lot of other stuff. Put your boots on the ground. Instead of going to a rally, go to the polling booths, offer your help to these freedom parties. If we get Dr. Chris Neal in there for Northern Victoria, that is one of the clinches that could really make some changes in Victoria. We've got to get these doctors with integrity into places where they can make some changes and bring about some really good policy and call this stuff for what it is. So
absolutely.
We're pleading with you. Please get out there and help these guys with their how to vote cards.
I've got a tool for that. So guys, there's two ways you can help them. One, go to the Victorian Electoral Commission website and search for your nearest polling booth. Just rock up. If there's someone there, at pre-polling right now, just if you like the Freedom Party or any other party that's there, say, hey, I want to start now. Or you could literally start now. Or I want to come on election day and do this. And they'll be like, no worries, beautiful, let's go. Thank you so much. Another way you can get in contact, we built one of our projects is the volunteer funnel, where if you go to our website, which is tpaust.com.au, that's tpaust.com.au, there's a volunteer funnel where you can put in your name, your number, and also your electorate, and you can click one of the 9 freedom parties, or even more than one of the 9 freedom parties, and it passes your details onto them so that they can get in contact with you for volunteering. I encourage you to click a number of parties so that the best one wins. And the big thing is we need volunteers for election day, but especially pre-polling, because you get bigger bang for your buck at pre-polling. And so, yep, Graham, you're absolutely right. Protesting shouldn't be protesting. There was a protest on the weekend. I had candidates on the phone to me once again crying, saying, why is everyone at the protest? I need help. I'm out here on my own. We've got literally, someone called me and they said, we've got 10, I'm looking at 10 socialist volunteers and I'm looking at 10 Labor Party volunteers, and I'm out here on my own. I was told at these protests I should, I was clapped that I should run as a candidate, and I'm out here on my own. And we've got thousands of people in the streets in Melbourne. And I warned people about this last week. I said, guys, do not go to the protest. Now there's still time to make a difference, guys. If you've done nothing to this point, that's okay. We've got every tool you need to make a difference. So as I said, yep, totally agree with Graham. Volunteer, handing out how to vote cards. It's scientifically proven, and this is actually scientifically proven. It's the best way you can influence other people's votes. It's handing out how to vote cards.
And please, if you're going to do that, please be disciplined in your approach to people, be respectful, be compassionate, and don't go wearing any kind of crazy T-shirts with weird slogans on it. Remember, this is an election. We make changes when we get the right people with integrity into government. So keep that in mind. Please be disciplined with your messaging.
Yeah, and if I may say so, Graham, just a tactic, and this is very important. John, you just can't make this stuff up. With the tactic, one of the most difficult things for me to grapple with is a lot of people, they will not vote for you because of the freedom policies. The people that voted for freedom policies federally, they already know who you are. They know who the freedom parties are. They will already vote for you. So when you're at the polling booth and you see someone walk up with a young kid, or if you see someone with eyebrows like mine and they look a little bit religious, maybe think, maybe they want cheaper electricity. Maybe they want lower taxes. Maybe they want, to get the woke education out of school so that kids aren't being encouraged to chop their genitals off. Think about some of the policies in your actual party's platform, and we've done all the hard work. If you go to the website again, you will find our policy matrix, and you can see how the parties have answered. There's so many different things on freedom, on conservatism, on free markets, on capitalism, on Christianity, on abortion. There's so many things you could sell these people. When you're at the polling booths and people are walking up, you got half a second to analyze them and think, what policy would most appeal to them? Because if we're in Victoria, they got 11% of the vote for freedom parties. 89% of people down there, they didn't vote for freedom parties. So forget about selling them freedom policies. Think about some of the other stuff you can sell them. There's so much you can talk to them about.
Great idea. And I've been saying a lot, just finishing off the tour. At most of the venues, I've been talking about how if we were to ask 300 people what freedom means, we'd get 300 different responses and they'd all be right. When we're rallying and when we're gathering in parks and doing the things that we're doing, and people come up to us and say, are you, what are you here for? And we say, we're here for freedom. Most of them would look at you and say, well, we've already got freedom. What are you talking about? I mean, you're here protesting and no one's hassling you. You can go to the pub, you can go to the cafe, you've got a job, you can go wherever you want. Some people are still labouring under that misinterpretation of what's really happening. But if someone came up to me and said, what are you here for? And I said, well, I'm fed up with government overreach. I'm fed up with having the government involved in every aspect of my life. I'm sick and tired of having to wait 6 months to get a council to approve a 6x4 garden shed in my backyard. I'm sick of being told that if I stray off the path in a national park, that I'm going to cop an $1,800 fine. These are things that people can relate to. But the minute you say freedom, that means so many. Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. And so for me, I think we need to be more of a resistance movement than a freedom movement. And we need to define that in much better ways. And most people have been cheering and clapping at the meetings when I put it that way. Most people are starting to see that we have to define this right down. And the other thing I want to say, just touching on the tour, I want everybody out there to know that if you think you're only a small group, let me tell you that you're not. We have spoken to tens of thousands of people right across Queensland some of them have driven for 20 hours to come to a meeting. 20 hours. So, you've got to look at this and know that you are most definitely not alone. And the other thing we're finding is more people are waking up every single day because the groups are getting bigger and bigger. And the exciting part of those meetings was seeing when they were expecting 15 or 20 to turn up and 200 or 300 turned up, that everybody was looking at each other saying, wow, I didn't know you felt the same way I did. So we're really heading down the right path.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Don't just sit there nodding your head, John. You must have something to say. I'm actually taking a breath.
Well, actually, Hoodie, I was going to say, Daniel Andrews shouldn't be so proud to say that Billy Joel sold out in a few hours because the Hoodie tour sold out in 30 seconds.
Well, selling out's probably not a good word because it was all voluntary, but we did get a lot of love and support. Yeah, we did. But this country has the potential. Joel and John, we've seen the best of Australia in the last 5 weeks. We saw it in the previous tour as well. I lamented when I made that video on the 7th of September in 2021 that Australia had lost its spirit. Oh, no. The tiger's been poked, and the larrikin Australian is standing up and starting to say nah in the best possible way. And that's all we've got to do. All we've got to do is be a community of resistance and say no. That's all we have to do. Do it with love and respect. Do it together. What better thing to do at this time? What are you going to do? Sit under a shady tree? What are you going to say to your grandkids in years to come when they ask, where were you in 2022, 2023?
Totally agree. And, one of the best things, guys, we all hate this despot. I mean, we're not very happy with what Daniel Andrews has been doing in Victoria, but we all know someone in Victoria. Graham's got family down there. I know people down there. John knows people down there. One of the things you can really do to help them is to send them the link to our How to Vote cards, the Turning Point Australia How to Vote cards. They look really sharp. It shows you how to vote below the line as a recommendation, and also below the line to get around Glen Drury. All the instructions are on there. That's tpaust.com.au. Now, they're all free resources. I basically chopped off my arm and my leg in order to get these to you guys in a timely fashion. If you don't like the recommendation, don't go after John or Graham. I encourage you to adjust the ticket to your liking, but it's a good starting point. It allows you to see, okay, that's what Joel's How to Vote card team's thinking. Maybe I'd make this adjustment. Maybe I don't want this Freedom Party on top. Maybe I want this one there. But this is the thing, guys. We need you to send it out because we are getting heavily censored. Graham's getting censored. John's getting censored. Me and Turning Point, we're all getting censored. All of the Victorian big names like Rukshan, Avi Yemeni, RDA, Voice for Victoria, Discernible, they're all getting censored down there for their own election. We have to pull together. We have to send this link to everyone we know in Victoria. And if you're in Victoria, that's one of the best things you can do. That and handing out How to Vote cards. And I know we'll smash it. I mean, the How to Vote cards, they're popping off. People really love them. And I think we'll see a very good result.
Well, let's hope, Jolly. And looking forward to perhaps you getting those links up on the site. On the site tonight if you can, so we can get these people cracking because time is running out, people. And if you live in Daniel Andrews' electorate of Mulgrave, you've got a golden opportunity to smack one of the biggest egos in politics out of the park. And I think that would put a smile on a lot of people's faces.
Yeah. Can I just say, sorry, I know I've said a lot. Can I just say I want to manage people's expectations. I'm expecting that Labor win the lower house. I'm expecting that Daniel Andrews will possibly lose his seat. So that means he can't be the premier. And in the upper house, I don't know what's going to happen, but I think the Freedom Parties can get the balance of power. It's possible. So I just want to be realistic. I just want to be realistic about that. So on election night, don't be surprised. I don't want you guys being upset because we didn't say anything. I think Labor will win the lower house, but that's okay. Will Daniel Andrews lose his seat? Even if Daniel Andrews wins his seat, it'll take at least another week before we know who controls the upper house. So don't freak out on election night. Don't buy into the mainstream media hype. They are trying to kick you down. This is exactly what happened in the federal election, and we still got two Freedom senators up. Hang in there, and leave nothing on the field. Leave it all on the field. To make sure that you have a situation where you have no regrets. Like, what are you going to do? What are you actually going to do? As Graham said before, your kids are going to ask you in years to come, what were you doing these years? And I could be working a very lavish corporate job right now at the ripe age of 25, but I'm here because I know we can make a difference at this point in time, and I'm giving all of these tools away for free. Like, I paid for these out of my own pocket because I don't want you to have any excuse to say, oh, but we didn't have this resource, we didn't have that resource. Everything you need. 6 projects. We even have a scrutineer video coming out tomorrow, which will show you exactly how to be a scrutineer and watch the vote and secure the vote. We've thought of everything. And everything you see, we're going to be doing in New South Wales next year, where we've got an even better chance with legends like Mark Latham running as well. So I want to thank Graham and John for hosting the conversation. You legends.
No, good to have you on at such short notice, Joel. And this is balanced on a knife edge. So, I think you've given us everything we need. And John and I will probably carry on. We need to let you go. John and I will carry on with a few other little conversations, but we'll get this out there tonight. And let's see Victoria stand up and defend itself. Come on, guys. You can do it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joel. I think
No
you've
worries.
done.
Joel.
I'll see you guys later. Thanks.
See you, mate. Bye-bye. Well, there you go, Joel Jammal. And Turning Point Australia, they're doing some great work. They're really doing some great work. So, onward and upward. It's going to be a tense few days in Victoria. And look, let's face it, for the whole country.
No, that's exactly right, Hoodie. It's it wouldn't if Andrews goes, in my opinion, that to me is the main objective here. Get rid of him, because I'm not certain that Labor or Liberal are any different.
No, they're not. You can tell that they're not, John. It's just, this is really about playing the well, what can you say? It's playing the personality now, not the policy. This guy needs to be slammed out of the park. He really does. So it's going to be an interesting time. But on other matters, John, there's been a lot of people asking how you've been going with NCAT. I know you're very restricted about what you can say. Is there anything you can allude to that might put some people at ease?
Well, look, Hoodie, we're still before the NCAT Commission at the moment. Tomorrow, the senior council will be summing up, and APRA will have their closing remarks with their barrister as well. So tense times. I was in the witness box last week for the best part of hours under cross-examination from the APRA barrister. So probably a bit of a cover off on all that after the ended is probably the better thing to do, Hoodie. But look, needless to say, I didn't. They got a very truthful, and they got a well, as you'd expect in a court, but they certainly got. They probably got more than they were expecting out of me. I didn't let them leave the NCAT hearing wondering what my thoughts or processes or beliefs were over the past 2 years, and I certainly made it very clear that I thought the court systems had failed us. I felt that in particular in the Kassam matter and in the Supreme Court matter, that the court had been misled in relation to the transmission issues. And I even put to the barrister hoodie. I even quoted the club Grubbery and also put to them that if they were flying with the nation's carrier, like you did, and as you've so correctly put on numerous occasions, I put to them that if they were asked to fly a 737 from Sydney to Melbourne with an experimental fuel, would they do it? Anyway, we'll see where we go, Hoodie. We'll see where we go. It's you just don't know, do you? But look, common sense has to prevail in all this stuff. Atagi has now essentially said that anyone under 30 shouldn't have a booster because of the myocarditis. I mean, that should be enough, shouldn't it? I mean, where do you go from there? It's just criminal, isn't it? If Atagi's now saying that under 30 shouldn't have the booster, why is anyone having it? I mean,
why is anyone having the jab period? It hasn't stopped transmission. It hasn't prevented hospitalisations. And the sickest people are those who've been vaccinated.
Look at these cruise ships. The Hazard Princess again. You know, they're all triple jabbed on there.
Yeah.
800. You know, they're just a petri dish for. It's not now a pandemic of the unvaccinated, is it?
No. And I haven't seen that retracted. Other interesting points of late have been, it seems that the woke media around the world is starting to preach from the same script. They're talking about COVID amnesty.
Yep. Oh, come on.
They're saying that people who are involved in administration and administering this particular, the procedures that we've all gone through, the lockdowns, the border closures, the mandates, the compulsory vaccination pushes that have been going on, if they've made a mistake, they should be forgiven because they were acting under extreme circumstances. Now, that seems to be presenting itself in various woke mainstream media outlets around the world. So they're obviously gearing up. They're gearing up for the truth to come out. And I mean, well, the truth is already out there, but the fact that they're not reporting on it beggars belief.
Well, it makes me laugh too, Woody, about what's going on up there in this at this summit that they've all been attending up there in Bali with all these World Economic Forum people. I mean, what's going on there? I mean, I've seen reports now coming out of that there's been some agreement about the World Health Organization essentially, you know, having a mandate in relation to how these things are responded to by governments without any control from us. I mean, have we not learned anything?
Well, you know, and vaccine passports, digital vaccine passports are now going to be compulsory for international travel. What is a citizen like Klaus Schwab doing in the middle of the G20?
What is he doing there?
Can anyone please wake up and see what's going on? It's going to be too late when all this stuff comes down the pipe. It's going to be too late. We have to be saying no now. We have to be speaking up now. Yeah, so many other things going on. Last night was the last night of the tour. A packed house at town hall meeting just north of Stanthorpe. It was an amazing way to end the tour, but it was wonderful to share the stage with Raylene Gotts, whose daughter died just over a year ago, and it was amazing to share the platform with her and have her tell her story again. It's just heartbreaking. I had to talk with some amazing people in Roma, and a lot of people who have been fighting vaccination injuries, John, for more than 20 years are now being vindicated. They used to go to protests where there were 15, 20, 30 of them, and now there are a lot more people protesting. And one lady said to me, she said, it breaks my heart when I say that I'm not an anti-vaxxer, because that casts an aspersion on people who are, people like these wonderful women like Meryl Story, who's been fighting this for 20 years. And I need to change my language around that because, you know what, based on what I've just learned in the last 2 years, John, I'm an anti-vaxxer. And I don't think there's any shame in being that. I think we are awake to what's going on, and we need to hold these big pharmaceutical companies and the governments who support them into account.
Well, and good on Gerard Rennick, Senator Annick, Matt Canavan, and I think there was one other senator. Is it Babette? Or
yeah.
Basically putting to the Parliament all these documents in relation to this COVID pharmaceutical rollout should be made available to the public.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, John, I think can't think of much else we can talk about. In the pipeline coming up for Doctors with Voices and Club Grubbery, our good mate Dr. Chris Neal will be coming on as soon as we can get him on. He's in the middle of campaigning at the moment. We want him to come on and give a spiel. Also, the Right Honourable Barrister Gillespie will be coming back on. Always good to have him back on the program. He's been doing an awful lot of work. Now, we've just got to try and line him up with some decent internet. So he's got to travel from where he lives to where he can get some decent internet. And that's Julian Gillespie, of course. And also, we're going to start our Media with Voices in the next few days. So I'm just lining up the first couple of speakers who are potentially whistleblowers from within the mainstream media. So we're building our railway line, John. We've got one track being the Doctors with Voices, and we're laying the other track, which is Media with Voices. And if we can get these two lots together, we can crack open some pretty big fissures in the wall.
Might be a derailment, Hoodie.
Might be a derailment. Absolutely, mate. Now, Matters Drifter, what's happening with Drifter? How are you going?
Things are going good, Hoodie. Yeah, we're really punching along there, and Luke's been really busy trying to get things sorted out for his Perth store opening, which is really exciting. And obviously, we'll cover that a bit more. But wonderful to think that the guys over in Perth are going to have a Drifter outlet. The thing that's really the thing I've really been excited about most, Hoodie, is just really getting to know the products and knowing Luke, and now knowing what the products are, and having actually being involved with them. Geez, they're good. I mean, I'm not just saying that because they're not. There's something there for everyone. They're just so well thought out. They're so well made. They're just backed by integrity and quality. And look, why a government has not invested in Drifter is beyond me. I mean, that product should be going worldwide. It really should be. It's such a wonderful product. It's such a great story. And when you think of what he's doing now in relation to the employment and helping the economy of all these regional places, it's fantastic.
Yeah, well, and that's really why we're pushing it, because we've come to know some business owners on the tour that have been incredible. Luke's sort of out there on a bigger scale, of course, with what he's doing. But the reason we get excited about not franchises, but stores opening up for Drifter is it's creating employment opportunities for people who've lost their jobs due mandates. And that's why we're supporting it. We want Drifter Camping and Four Wheel Drive to do well. We also want the Mission Beach Tavern to do well, a wonderful group of people there, the Kelly Hotel, even in Chinchilla, Domino's Pizza in Chinchilla. Leanne, the lovely lady Leanne, who's been fighting tooth and nail to give people jobs who've lost their jobs through the mandates. The pizza shop at Curry, would you believe? Curry in the Hunter Valley. The fish place in Port Lincoln. They've been supporting people that have lost their jobs in the mandates. and the list go on. And there's so many more that I can talk about, but amazing people, wonderful people. So, we need to support them. We need to back them to the hilt. So I think it's we've done a good return to service, Club Grubbery tonight, mate. It's been interesting, and
Yeah.
and I've only been home a few hours, and my eyes are hanging out, and I'm looking forward to a good sleep. But of course, we need to close with a prayer, so let's do that, eh?
Do that.
Lord Father in heaven, it's a blessing to be able to be back in the seat with my old friend, and to have been able to talk to Noel. To Joel, rather, Lord, and we thank you so much for his input and all the work that he's put in. And we pray, Lord, that your spirit will descend upon the evil that has become Victoria, and that in the doing of that the election results will start to bring light and truth back to that state of beautiful people who have been caught up in something horrendous. Father, we ask you to bless us each one. We ask you to continue to show us that what we did yesterday gets us to today, and what we do today gets us to tomorrow, one day at a time. So, Lord, ease our anxiety by reminding us just how much in control of these issues you really are. We thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with so many people who are awake and more awakening every day. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. And thank you, Sally.
Yeah, Sally. Yeah, thanks a lot, Sal.
No, how was that?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Sal. Really like the shirt John's wearing. What am I, chopped liver? Sorry. Yeah, as you've often been heard to say, mate.
You just couldn't make this stuff up.
You couldn't make this stuff up. Stay out of the trees, everyone. If you love somebody and you haven't told them, please call them. Make sure they know, because you may just save their life. Things are still pretty grim for a lot of people in this country. Also, our thoughts and prayers to the people in the floods. Look, we haven't kept across the news in the last 4 weeks because of our road trip. We haven't had internet, and we've been so busy. Some days we've done 3 speeches a day in different venues. Our thoughts and prayers, our hearts break for the people of Victoria and New South Wales who've copped these floods. It's just horrendous. And we hope and pray that your emergency services are able to achieve more for you than the people of Northern Rivers were able to receive in northern New South Wales. So stick together, hold the line together, and pull each other through this. And I wish we were closer, that we could come down and give you all a hand. So blessings to you all. Stay safe, and we'll be back on tomorrow night with another Club Grubbery or Doctors with Voices. Keep watching, and don't forget, this will be going on to BitChute and Rumble. Like and share. I know we haven't been keeping that up to date for the last couple of weeks, but the reasons are obvious. God bless you all. Stay out of the trees, and bye for now.